What's up, Spud Nation? Welcome to week number 1 NFL football, which means fantasy football time. I'm loving it. You're loving it. Hopefully you all had phenomenal drafts and you're ready to tear this up. For those of you who are not happy with your team, I'm here to help. Email me, Craig@thesportscoach.com. I've been getting emails like crazy. I appreciate everyone who's been doing it. And we're turning teams around. I've helped with draft day. I'm helping fill gaps in your team. You have questions, I have answers, and we're ready to do this. Hey, I'm here to help you guys. I am the top fantasy football consultant you're going to run into. I answer all questions all the time. Hey, you found yourself a gem right here with the Sports Coach. Alright, we're going to get things started. First of all, I'm going to say a big congratulations to my brother who just got married this past weekend. I was out east. I got to hit up New York with him. Then I went to Maryland. They got married in Washington, D.C. Congratulations, Scott and Angie. All my love, you guys. Great job. For those of you who emailed me throughout the week, I did my best to reach all you guys. So that was why. I was out east helping my brother out for his big day. Scott and Angie, congrats. One last shout before we get going. What up, Vuk? I believe your name is Vuk. We're coming for you, man. Gonzo hit me up. You're going down, son. Vuk, going down in your fantasy football matchup. Week number 1, Gonzo taking you to the house, giving you the business. Vuk, going down, son. There we go. Now let's get to this. Week number 1. You guys know where to hit me up. Facebook, Twitter, on my website, or on YouTube. Alright, let's roll. Week 1, week gets going Wednesday. Who do we have here? The Cowboys versus the Giants. Super Bowl champions. Hey, this is a big-time matchup in the East. Here we go. There's big-time players in this matchup. Dallas is rolling out the carpet. Tony Romo, he's going to throw the ball all over the place. Throwing it to whom? Dez Bryant, Miles Austin. Both fantasy options to start for you. I like DeMarco Murray a lot in this matchup as well. On the other side, Eli Manning, Ahmad Bradshaw, David Wilson, Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks. Those are all the big-time players in this game. I really like Tony Romo. If you have him, more than likely he is your best quarterback. Romo's a start. Eli Manning's a start. Eli Manning, again, you probably got him in about the 4th or 5th round. Manning is probably your top quarterback. If he's your backup quarterback, you're sitting really pretty. Either one of these guys, if they're your backups, you're sitting real stacked at the quarterback position. It's a start. This is going to be a shootout. I like what they can do. At running back, DeMarco Murray was probably another high draft pick for you guys. Murray is a start. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He's going to get the majority of the work. The go-to receiver that I like for Dallas is Dez Bryant. I know everyone is big on Miles Austin. Give me Dez Bryant all day, every day over Miles Austin because Dez Bryant has the size, the speed, and he just gets it. Flipping over to the Giants. We talked about Manning, Ahmad Bradshaw, David Wilson. Bradshaw, he's probably going to be your running back 2 or a flex option. He is not your number 1 running back. If he is, contact me. We're going to find you someone better. David Wilson. I like him as a sleeper play this week. The guy is going to be a solid running back. He fills Brandon Jacobs' role. He can play. I like him a lot. In a deep league, he's going to be a nice sleeper play this week. 8 or 10 team league, he might break your flex play. Victor Cruz, must start. Victor Cruz is going to have a big game. And Hakeem Nicks, I'm a little leery with this guy. I'm not rating him as high as Victor Cruz just because of the injury and his late return. But anytime Hakeem Nicks steps foot on the field, he is a guy you got to pay attention to. A nice red zone threat. Eli Manning can throw him the ball. Hakeem Nicks, if you have questions, let me know with that guy. It all depends where he falls on your fantasy roster. Alright, we are looking at Sunday. Indy versus Chicago. Roll out the carpet for Andrew Luck. Let's see what he's got. Colts guys that you got to pay attention to. Andrew Luck, he's going to throw the ball a lot. They'll probably be down the entire game. So look for Andrew Luck to throw it all over the place. Donald Brown, the running back's going to get a lot of carries, a lot of opportunity. They don't really have much behind him. So Donald Brown, also an option. Running back 2, running back 3, a possible flex play, just due to the amount of carries that guy's going to get. Reggie Wayne. I'm not a huge Reggie Wayne guy. Andrew Luck has to throw the ball to somebody. I think Austin Collie will get those catches, but Reggie Wayne, you can't discount what this guy has done and been through throughout his career. So, Reggie Wayne, if you drafted him, he might be a nice wide receiver 3 play, maybe a flex play, somewhere in that vicinity. Colby Fleener, not a start this week. Obviously, he's a deep tight end in a lot of leagues, but not a start this week. On the flip side, Jay Cutler, he's got a really nice matchup here. The Bears have a lot of weapons. They should score a lot of points versus the Colts, who aren't that good. Cutler is worth a nod this week. He's got Brandon Marshall to throw to, who I like. Marshall, look for him to get a touchdown, hit the 100-yard mark. And I also really like Alshon Jeffrey. Yeah, he might be buried a little bit on the depth chart, wide receiver 3, but I love his red zone production, or should I say the possibilities of his red zone production, and I just like what he can do. I think they're going to get up some points. He's going to get in there, he's going to get his opportunity, and it wouldn't shock me if Alshon Jeffrey had a touchdown this week. At running back, Matt Forte is going to catch a bunch of balls. He'll do what he does, but I like Michael Bush to run the ball the majority of the time, get between the tackles. I'm looking at 15 carries at least, and Bush to find the end zone. They get anywhere near the red zone, and I'm looking at Bush as a big old workhorse that they have been lacking for a lot of years. Next game, Philly versus Cleveland. Talk about a powerhouse matchup here. Philly should score a lot of points here. Mike Vick makes him a starter this week. He should throw the ball everywhere and run at will. LaShawn McCoy, look for a huge game. Jeremy Maclin, a touchdown out of him. I say Maclin is the guy in Philly. He's not as fast as Deshaun Jackson, but Macklin's the guy. And Deshaun Jackson, I stay away from this kid. He just is a speed burner, obviously. I like Maclin. He gets in the red zone. He catches touchdowns. Cleveland, stay away from Brandon Weeden. You stay away from Greg Little, any other receiver on that roster. The guy you give the nod to is Trent Richardson. The running back, he's going to get the ball a lot. Apparently, he's been looking really good in practice. He's ready to go this week, and that means good things for Trent Richardson owners. Enjoy. Hold on 1 second. All right, Rams taking on the Lions. Sam Bradford, is this a new season? Is this a new Sam Bradford? He's not a starter in any fantasy circles out there, and that's because the Rams have a revolving door of wide receivers. I've been getting emails about Danny Amendola. Do I start him? Well, he's their number 2. Brandon Gibson is their number 1. Brian Quick is their best receiver, and he's wide receiver 3 for them. I don't like it. The Rams are just going to keep revolving the door till someone steps up, takes reign of the top receiver position, and my bet is still Brian Quick going to be that guy. The guy you give a start to is Steven Jackson. He'll get a bunch of carries. The Rams will probably struggle to find the end zone, but Steven Jackson, let's hope that he finds it. He's a start regardless. He catches the ball, he runs the ball, and he touches the ball a tremendous amount of time. Detroit, Matthew Stafford, must start. The guy's a beast. He's got Megatron, who is a must start as well at wide receiver. A solid tight end, Brandon Pettigrew. Depending on who you have, Pettigrew is a nice play this week. Look for Stafford to throw 3, possibly 4 touchdowns, and Calvin could come away with 2 or 3 of those. Kevin Smith, getting the nod right now. Look for him. He's going to carry the ball. That's half the battle here, folks. Kevin Smith against the shaky Rams D. There we go. Not a bad play. Miami versus Houston. Don't start anybody from Miami except for Reggie Bush. If you have Reggie Bush, he's going to touch the ball a ton. And like I just got done saying, that's half the battle right there. Houston, monstrous defense. They should be able to destroy Miami. Look for Schaub to have a pretty solid game. But the Texans, they live and die by the running game. They have two of the best in the biz. Arian Foster, Ben Tate. I would start both of them. If you have Ben Tate on your bench, depending on who you have in front of him, Ben Tate is a good play this week. They're going to get split carries like they're going to do throughout the season, and Ben Tate takes advantage when he gets his carries. Look for them both to score this week. Foster, probably 2 touchdowns. At receiver, Andre Johnson. He's amazing while he's healthy, but you never know when he's going to go down. And Owen Daniels. I like what Owen Daniels can do. Look for him to find the end zone this week. Atlanta versus Kansas City. This looks like a dream matchup on paper. Amazing offenses ready to duke it out. Matt Ryan, is this his year? Is this the year where he takes his team over the top? Ton of weapons at his disposal. Matt Ryan is a start this week in fantasy football. He's got Roddy White, who is a must-start. Julio Jones, another must-start in your fantasy lineup. Tony Gonzalez, he's aging a little bit, but he is still a model of consistency. Get him in your lineup, depending, again, on who you have in front of him. If you have a guy like Gronk or Jimmy Graham, or even Jermichael Finley, I'm giving those guys the nod before Tony Gonzalez. At running back, the word is Michael Turner is slowing down. His body can't hold up. They say this every single year. The guy is a bowling ball. He's a wrecking ball. He'll destroy you. They give him the ball a bunch. But look for the little man, Jacquizz Rodgers. They're going to try, like they do every year with a little back, to get a little guy involved. I don't see him stealing any touchdowns from Turner. Look for Turner to still get his. He'll get his touchdown. But keep an eye out there, fantasy folks, on little Rodgers. See what he does. For the Kansas City side of things, Matt Castle is not quite yet a fantasy starter, but keep close attention. The guy's got too many weapons to not be successful. I love his receivers, Dwayne Bowe, who I think is going to be one of the biggest surprises of this season, and Jonathan Baldwin. They're getting a bunch of high marks from this kid. He is who they thought he was going to be this year. I still say Bowe is a must-start. Baldwin is a guy you keep on the back burner and see what he is all about. I'm giving Peyton Hillis the nod here for Kansas City. He looked amazing in the preseason, and I know Jamal Charles, but Hillis, the Vanilla Gorilla, he's back, and he's running with a vengeance. The guy can catch the ball. He showed in Cleveland exactly what he can do. I love him. I think he's a must-start this week. Peyton Hillis, get him in your lineup. Jaguars, Vikings. Well, if you thought neither of these teams were going to win a game, one of them has to do it this week. The Jags, Blaine Gabbert, not a starter. You're looking at a difficult situation at running back. Mojo, he's back. They're looking at a third down back with him. I doubt that's going to hold true. You don't have an all-star like Maurice Jones-Drew, one of the best in the game, and not plug him in. Jennings is going to stumble a little bit, and Jones-Drew is going to get pushed into action. I would start Maurice Jones-Drew. I just feel like the Jaguars have no choice but to play their best player. I know they say they're starting Jennings, but we all know how that goes. Look for Maurice Jones-Drew to get 10-plus touches, obviously, and Jennings, we'll see what he does. A lot of you guys drafted Jennings to start him in Week 1, so go ahead, start him in Week 1. Let him try and run on the Vikings D. If he is your best option this week, go for it. The only other guy I would give a look to is Justin Blackmon. He looked pretty solid in the preseason. Gabbert likes him, throws his way. Blackmon has all the talent in the world, so go out there and give him a nod. On the Vikings side of things, Christian Ponder is horrible. Don't start him. And again, a tricky situation at running back. Adrian Peterson, he's been pushing the envelope for the entire offseason. Really wants to play. And what do? Stay tuned Sunday morning. Game time decision. Hopefully you handcuffed your pick with Toby Gerhart. If you did, you're safe. The only other guy, well, Percy Harvin. A lot of you drafted him as a must-start guy. I don't see it as a bad play this week. Give him a start. And then the last guy who I think is kind of tricky this year is Kyle Rudolph. Big, old tight end. Athletic. He could do some damage. Probably not drafted in a lot of leagues. In deeper leagues, he was probably taken. But keep an eye on this kid. Could be a nice little sleeper play. Nice little fit in there. Look for a 6 touchdown season out of him. I think Kyle Rudolph could be a nice sneaky play throughout the entire season. As of week 1, keep him on your bench. Redskins, Saints. RG3, a lot of you drafted him to start him. Start him. Situation at running back. I warn all of you to stay away from Washington running backs, and this is why. Evan Royster is the starter. Depending on Mike Shanahan's ADD, Roy Halou could be the starter by the second quarter. You're never really sure. Shanahan drives fantasy owners absolutely crazy, and that's why. So I steer completely away from this. But like I said, Royster is labeled the starter this week. Fred Davis, I like. He's going to be a nice play every week for Washington. And then lastly, Pierre Garcon and Josh Morgan. Those are the 2 starting receivers for RG3. I give Fred Davis the nod over both of them. But if you need to slide a receiver in there, Pierre Garcon. They went and spent a ton of money on this kid. It's who they want to be their number 1 guy. So RG3 is going to have to learn to throw it his way. For the Saints, Drew Brees is a must-start every week. Colston, DeVry Henderson, Lance Moore. I hate the Saints receivers because they are so good. All of them. And they have such a quarterback that can make any single one of them that good week in and week out. I stick with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is the Saints' number 1 receiver. You have him, you start him. As far as Colston, again, I try to stay away from him, but if you have Colston, he's a nice play this week. Washington's cornerbacks aren't going to be able to handle the size, and Drew Brees, you know that he's going to make one of those guys look very, very good in Colston, Henderson, or Moore. Who it's going to be, though, that is the tricky decision. You're going to watch all the ESPN shows, look everywhere on YouTube, Yahoo, everywhere. It's going to be Colston, Colston, Colston. So if you're starting a Saint receiver, make it Colston. Buffalo versus Jets. Jets offense, I say stay away, steer clear. Just garbage. And the Bills defense is very strong. For Buffalo, on the offensive side of things, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I look for him to have a nice game. He's healthy. His line's healthy. His running back is back. Look for him to have a very nice game. 300-plus yards, probably 2 touchdowns. I see the tight end, Chandler. He's going to sneak one of those in there. I also like Fred Jackson a lot. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does. He's a sneaky play. No one looks at him as a big stud running back, but the man puts up numbers and produces. So Fred Jackson, get him in your starting lineup, and also Stevie Johnson. You drafted him to be in there, put him in your lineup. Patriots, Tennessee, Patriots. You start Tom Brady, you start Stephen Ridley, you start Wes Welker, you start Gronk and Hernandez. Must starts. Brandon Lloyd, a lot of questions about Brandon Lloyd. I need Brandon Lloyd to prove something to me. Brady's got a lot of weapons to throw to. Number 1 weapon, Gronk. Number 2, Hernandez. Number 3, Welker. They're all going to catch balls, a lot of them. When do you find time to throw it to Lloyd? The only deep threat that's really worked for New England on a consistent basis has been Randy Moss. So we'll see. I'm not a believer in Brandon Lloyd just yet. I know the talent's there. I know his quarterback is Tom Brady. But still, I'm not starting Brandon Lloyd if I have the depth at receiver that hopefully you do have. For Tennessee, Jake Locker making his debut. Not a starting quarterback, obviously. Receivers, I don't start any of them. Chris Johnson, you drafted him high to start him, you start him. Jared Cook, a nice play at tight end, actually. Very athletic, catches the balls that are thrown even remotely close to him. A nice play versus the Patriots. Seattle versus Arizona, Russell Wilson. My man, I'm starting him in one of my leagues. I love Russell Wilson. I think he could have a very nice season. Marshawn Lynch, must start. As far as the guys that Russell Wilson's going to throw to, it's going to be a crapshoot every week. Golden Tate, Sidney Rice, Braylon Edwards look pretty good in the preseason. So I don't start any of them, but I like what Russell Wilson can do both with his legs and his arm. In Arizona, Larry Fitz, you drafted him high, start him. I like a sneaky play in Ryan Williams. Keep an eye on him throughout the year. They drafted him last year to be the man. They're moving him in slowly this year to be that guy. For the time being, though, Beanie Wells, he's healthy, he's a starter, and he's a fantasy starter for you. 49ers, Packers, a lot of emails. Do I start Packer receivers? What do I do against 49ers D? You have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, you have Packer receivers, you start them. No defense is going to slow the Packers offense down. Jordy Nelson, must start. Greg Jennings, must start. Aaron Rodgers, top fantasy player out there. And then lastly, Jermichael Finley, I think is a really nice play. The guy at bench for Green Bay is Cedric Benson. 49ers run defense will slug you right in the mouth. And the Packers don't run the ball extremely well. So Packers passing attack, yes. Running attack, no. For the 49ers, I'm excited to see what Alex Smith can do this year with all the weapons. I don't start him in week 1. I'm giving Randy Moss the nod this week, though. I think Randy Moss is on a mission this year, and he's a great target to... I don't know. I like Randy Moss a lot. I think he showed a lot in the preseason, running precise routes. He's a leader. He's catching the ball. He's fast. I love him. Start him. Vernon Davis as well, must start. And then Frank Gore. This is going to be tricky for Frank Gore owners throughout the season. A crowded backfield. Frank Gore is still the starter, but they brought in Brandon Jacobs to do work. Kendall Hunter was already splitting carries with Gore last year. And LaMichael James. What they're going to do with the timeshare back there is going to be very interesting. But for now, you drafted Frank Gore high. Start him. Carolina, Tampa Bay, Newton, must start. I hate both the Panthers running backs. You never know who's going to do what, so I stay away from them. If I had to pick one, D'Angelo Williams is the quote-unquote starter. I would start him. And I would also start Steve Smith. For Tampa, this is the beginning. I said big things for Josh Freeman, and I'm going to stick by him. Josh Freeman got 2 weapons, Vincent Jackson, Mike Williams. I love Mike Williams and the potential this year. He'll get back to what he did his rookie year. Vincent Jackson's drawn a lot of attention. If you have Mike Williams on your team, he's a bench player this week. Vincent Jackson is a start. And lastly, Doug Martin is a start at running back. The guy's going to play downs 1 through 3. LeGarrette Blount's going to come in when he's tired. Doug Martin must start, high impact player. Pittsburgh, Denver. Big Ben looking to throw it all over the place. There is rumor Mendenhall might start working his way back in, but nothing too severe too early. So Isaac Redman is still the starter there. Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown. I mean, they're his speed receivers. Ben's got to throw it to somebody. Those are your guys. Denver side of things, Peyton Manning, he's a must start. The guy has looked phenomenal. I was not a believer at the beginning, but the man has looked great, and he's making Eric Decker look like an all-star. He loves Demaryius Thomas, so just by that alone, I'm starting Demaryius Thomas. I think Eric Decker also gets a nod. And at running back, I'm staying away from Denver running backs right now, especially against Pittsburgh's D. Just a tough matchup. And, you know, McGahee slowing down. They like Ronnie Hillman a bunch, so kind of see where that timeshare is at. Cincinnati, Baltimore. Andy Dalton, not a starter yet. I love A.J. Green. He's a must start. Keep an eye on Mohamed Sanu. Big, monster, rookie receiver. Cincinnati likes him a lot. Look for him to have an impact. Might not be this week, but a little further down the road. I just like the threat of Gresham, A.J. Green, Mohamed Sanu, just monsters running at you. And lastly, BenJarvus Green-Ellis. I think this kid's going to have a tremendously huge year. Green-Ellis, big season. Boom. About time he gets some props. For Baltimore, Flacco, he's not a starter in my book. Not yet, at least. He's got a bunch of weapons, though. Ray Rice, must start, of course. Torrey Smith, the sleeper in my entire fantasy ramblings here, is Torrey Smith. I think this guy's going to have a monster year. We're looking 10 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. I'm expecting huge things out of Torrey Smith. And lastly, Chargers, Oakland. Philip Rivers, he likes throwing the ball to the other team, but I have so much question about the San Diego Chargers right now. Ryan Matthews, he really wants to push the envelope and play in Week 1. Follow the injury report. I have no clue what he's going to do. Hopefully you handcuffed yourself with Ronnie Brown. Not a great player, but keep an eye on that. See who plays Monday night. The receivers, Malcolm Floyd has never proved anything in this league. And Robert Meacham. Can Meacham be the #1 guy? Slim Pickens at receiver for the Chargers. They still have Antonio Gates, who is a starting player for you guys, but I just don't see it. I'm not starting anyone unless Ryan Matthews is ready to go. Antonio Gates gets my nod, and Robert Meacham is a flex player, wide receiver 3, somewhere in there. For Oakland, Carson Palmer, I think he's going to have a nice week. He's my sleeper quarterback this week. McFadden, as long as he stays healthy, he's a beast. And lastly, I think Palmer is going to throw in a lot to Hayward Bay. So look for Hayward Bay to have a nice week. My top 10 lock players, guys that need to be in your lineup. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Jimmy Graham, the Gronk, Jordy Nelson, Calvin Johnson, Drew Brees, Arian Foster, LaShawn McCoy. If you have any of those guys, they're in your lineup. Some rookies that are going to have impact in Week 1. Doug Martin, Justin Blackmon, RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Stephen Hill, keep an eye on. He's their #2 receiver in New York. Their offense looked horrible, but you know what? He'll get his opportunities. Trent Richardson and Alshon Jeffrey. Some sleepers in Week 1. Mike Williams, Tampa. Carson Palmer, Torrey Smith, Randy Moss, Demaryius Thomas, Fred Jackson, Peyton Hillis, and I threw Ryan Williams' name in there just because he's going to be a sleeper throughout the first half of the NFL season. And some guys to avoid. Cedric Benson versus that 49er D. The Jets offense, because they're horrible and they're playing the Bills. Ryan Tannehill versus Houston. Deshaun Jackson, he's going to get beat up by Joe Hayden. And I'm going the combination Brandon Weeden, Greg Little. I know a lot of you guys drafted Greg Little, but they're playing that Philly secondary. Brandon Weeden, just not that impressive. There you go, Spud Nation. Good luck Week 1. Again, you have any questions, email me, Craig@sportscouch.com. Hit me up, YouTube, Twitter, anywhere you want. I'm here to help you guys. Let's go get those titles. Week 1, that's how it starts. Till next time, we're out.